I'll give you the 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, it's a great privilege and honor to have the opportunity to appear before this very august committee of the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, I will, interchange the same. In any case, you're still the Speaker. Mr. Chair, my name is Onesimus Kipchumba Murkomen, born on 12 March 1979 on the eastern sides of slopes of Cherangani Hills in a place famously known as Embubut. Actually born in Embubut Forest as a son of a squatter. Mr. Speaker, I am the son of Reverend Joanna and Mama Margaret. I am married. I have with one wife and 4 children. And Mr. Speaker, I went for my primary education, I went to Chawis Primary School, which is in Embubut. Like many of us here and others in the country, I went to school at a time in my area where I had to trek for at least 5 kilometers a day going and coming, so about 10 kilometers to access education. I also went later to Kapsiglai Primary School at the border of Elgeyo Marakwet and Trans Nzoia, whereafter I was admitted to the St. Joseph's High School, Kitale. Mr. Speaker, my dream then was to join St. Patrick's. That is the school I knew. And so when I tried to transfer to St. Patrick's High School, the school that time said I will have an opportunity in my second year, my Form 2. So I moved from St. Joseph's High School, Kitale, to St. Patrick's High School for my Form 2 to Form 4. It is at St. Patrick's High School that my leadership skills were honed. Mr. Speaker, St. Patrick's High School was among the few schools in the country then that allowed students to elect their leaders. And Mr. Speaker, the students of the school then entrusted me with one of the most sensitive dockets in the school to be in charge of the dining hall. Mr. Speaker, then at a very early age, I learned how to distribute resources and how to protect the weaker students, Mr. Speaker, knowing very well, you know, sometimes bullying would ensue, where you have a Form 1 fighting for his chance to get a better ratio of the food. And Mr. Speaker, perhaps that skill and knowledge that I learned at that very early in life will become instrumental in the job that I have been nominated to do, because it's about distribution of resources and equity. Mr. Speaker, after St. Patrick's High School, I was admitted to study law at the University of Nairobi. And Mr. Speaker, again at the University of Nairobi, I had the opportunity to be in various positions of leadership, one of which, Mr. Speaker, was to be the chair of the Kenya Law Student Society. Perhaps I'm told I'm the first person to be a chair of Kenya Law Student Society in my second year. And Mr. Speaker, from there, I also had an opportunity to be the chair of the Fellowship of Christian Unions National Student Executive Committee, which brought together all the members of the Fellowship of Christian Unions in the entire country, over 23 institutions at that point in time. Mr. Speaker, I had other responsibilities, including being an editor of the University of Nairobi Law Journal. And Mr. Speaker, if there is a moment in my life that I learned a lot about leadership and was properly trained about leadership, because people ask me, where did you come from? Why did you end up being a senator? It's because at that early age, from the time that I joined the University of Nairobi, I think I had exposure of many opportunities of training of leadership. So I went to the East Africa Uongozi Institute for training in leadership. Mr. Speaker, I also, together with other colleagues, Mr. Speaker, including Honorable Alice Waume, Honorable Patrick Marero, Rachel Shebesh, we were in a founding class of leaders who were trained. I was still in the university, but I was in that class, trained to be future leaders, and I'm glad that dream became fulfilled in the fullness of time. So if you find me spend more time speak about my adventure at the University of Nairobi, it's because I value it. It was very important in my formative years, including, Mr. Speaker, I was in the leadership of the SONU when SONU was disbanded, and I was the chair of KLSS that established a new constitution for the University of Nairobi students of SONU, and we put together the SONU. We restored SONU Parliament that used to exist in the yesteryears. Mr. Speaker, after University of Nairobi, and when I was still at the University of Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity to work with the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, then headed by Professor Yash Palgai as a program assistant, and I traveled many parts of this country to collect views. We were collecting and collating views for purpose of writing our constitution. Again, a very, very great opportunity. And I always thank Justice Pauline Nyamweya for giving a number of us who were students at that point in time an opportunity to serve in the constitution-making process. Mr. Speaker, after my tenure, time at the University of Nairobi, I got an opportunity to do my pupillage with the firm of Muthoga Gaturu Advocates, and thereafter I got a scholarship, a World Bank scholarship, to train young African students, or young Africans actually, because focus was for Africans, on trade and investment negotiation. And therefore I was sent to University of Pretoria, where I graduated, Mr. Speaker, with magna cum laude. And Mr. Speaker, I graduated from there. I went again for an exchange program at the American University Washington College of Law, where I did another postgraduate degree on international legal studies. My time in Washington, Mr. Speaker, was very interesting. I had exposure of working with big think tanks at that point in time, Woodrow Wilson, Mr. Speaker, among others in DC. I also had an opportunity to work as a lobbyist. Lobbying in US is a formal trade where lobby firms are allowed to go to Parliament and represent their clients in legal positions on different issues. And so I had a chance to appear before Ways and Means Committee of Congress at a young age with that kind of exposure that I got. Mr. Speaker, when I left the US, interestingly, if you see my certificate for my second master's degree, although I left the university in 2007, I graduated in 2017. Interestingly, Mr. Speaker, you know I was a hustler. So when I went there, I had to pay my school fees, and I was unable to raise $10,000 to pay school fees then, which then later I procrastinated until I paid and went back to complete and graduate when I was a senator here in 2017. Mr. Speaker, when I left the American University to come back to my country, there were so many people who were enticing me with opportunities out of the country. But I knew my place and my dream was to participate in the task of nation building. And when I came here, I was employed at the Catholic University of East Africa as an assistant lecturer, Mr. Speaker, where I taught, among others, air and space law, which is again relevant to the, Mr. Speaker, the docket that I'm being nominated for. Thereafter, Mr. Speaker, I moved from Catholic University to Moy University, where again I taught various courses, Mr. Speaker. I am lucky to have taught a number of students, some of whom are in the National Assembly now, and some are my colleagues in the Senate. And Mr. Speaker, that was a great opportunity for me because apart from just teaching, I enjoyed the time I spent mentoring other students, both in matters leadership, but also in their career progression. Mr. Speaker, another very milestone, a very notable milestone in my life for me is that as we pursued to pass the 2010 Constitution, Mr. Speaker, I had a chance to participate in many initiatives that led to civic education. I was a firm supporter of the new Constitution. After the 2010 Constitution was passed, the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, nominated me to sit in the Task Force on Devolved Government. I served in that task force under, again, a very distinguished citizen of this country, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. And that, Mr. Speaker, must have been my most notable contribution on matters of devolution, because we came up with 6 laws on matters of devolved governance. In 2013, Mr. Speaker, based on the experiences I had, okay, Mr. Speaker, maybe I just conclude. Yeah, I just went up by saying, from 2013, I was elected to be a senator of by the people of Elgeyo Marakwet County, and in the Senate I served in various capacities as a chair of devolution committee, represented Kenya in Pan-African Parliament, deputy majority leader, Mr. Speaker, in the second term, until I was unceremoniously bundled out of my position on 12th May 2020. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Mr. Speaker, the Almighty God, for the journey that I've traveled in public service. I want to thank my family, my wife, my children, for giving me the support that I need to do this, and the extended family, including my parents. And I want to thank the President for finding it fit, Mr. Speaker, to nominate me to this position of a Cabinet Secretary. I am forever grateful, and I hope this committee will approve my nomination so that I can enthusiastically, Mr. Speaker, serve the people of Kenya.
Thank you. At the end of the proceedings, I'll give you 3 minutes to say your last issues.